Hey everyone, this is Any Chalk News Reports. We're back on the video, and today we're talking about the Montreal Canadiens and their defense and what it's going to look like next year. Potentially, if they don't make any other moves, but they might still make moves. I wouldn't be surprised. But after the Matheson and Petry trade here, so Matheson and a fourth-round pick going to Montreal for Jeff Petry to the Pittsburgh Penguins and Ryan Poehling. So. After that trade, this is kind of what the team looks like, and a lot of people have been saying that the right defense is lacking something here. Lacking depth there, and that's definitely true. It is lacking depth. You don't have Petry there, which he played for 7 years, something like 7 years with Montreal Canadiens. Been there a long time. It was a steal of a trade Montreal did with the Oilers. It was a second and fourth round pick. Not too long ago, like 2 years ago, he was up there for the Norris candidate as one of the best defensemen of the season. So, Petry, just struggled mightily, about 2 points in like 20 games at the beginning of the season with Montreal this year. So, this past season. So, that was tough for Montreal, and Petry wanted to trade knowing his family's in the U.S. now, not Canada. So, it's tough for him. And now he's in Pittsburgh now, so there you go. He can live there. So now we get Mike Matheson. He is from St. Clair, but that's Montreal, Quebec. He's excited to play. He speaks French and all that stuff. So let's talk about how he fits in and what the team is going to look like on defense and what they have coming up here. Yes, the right shot is lacking here. You don't have the depth like it used to be. Our top four 2 years ago was Ben Sherratt, Shea Weber, Joe Edmondson, and Jeff Petry, and there's only one name on this board that I just named is still here, and that's Joe Edmondson. So, Petry trading Ben Sherratt at the deadline, Weber eventually retiring. They traded his contract to Vegas. Petry just got traded to Pittsburgh. Romanov's not here anymore. He got traded to the Islanders with the 13th overall pick, and then that got swapped for Curry Dock. So we got him as a second line center. But this team has changed. So this is not lineups. You could say, oh, this guy's supposed to go with that guy, but you really don't know until the season starts. And even during the season starts, it changes. It really does, from beginning of the season to the middle to the end to the playoffs. The teams didn't make it the playoffs, but just an instance, what I'm talking about here. So, Joe Edmondson, David Savard, and definitely I think we all can agree that David Savard is now officially the right shot number one defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. The thing about David Savard is he was in Columbus for a long time, then got traded to the Lightning 2 years ago. They play against Montreal in the finals. He won the Stanley Cup that year. We were hoping he would not do that against all Canadiens, right? But then he signed with the Canadiens afterwards. At 3.5, he has another 3 years on a deal here. Very team-family of a deal. He wanted to go home to Montreal. He gets that. 17 points in 62 games last year, minus 22. I would say that could get better, for sure. Last couple of years he's been in the minus, but that stat doesn't really matter as much. So, 17 points is about his range, actually. I know some people ranked on him, but still, yeah. So, but Savard, he does dangle sometimes from the blue line in. He does like to be a little extra electrifying at times, which is interesting what he brings. Joe Edmondson, of course, he was out for a long time with his back and his father and all that stuff. 6 points in 24 games, really solid of a guy for us. $3.5 million contract for the next 3 years. Actually, not 3 years. That was Savard. Is that the same? Or 2 more years for Edmondson. But you really gotta like Edmondson. He's a really good defenseman. Yeah, Matheson. Matheson had what do you have? 31 points. And Matheson, he has a contract, 4.875. for the next 4 years. He modified no trade clause, 18 no trade list. But Matheson, I think you're gonna really like here. 31 points, 11 goals, 20 assists. But he is solid, but he's a left defenseman, so that right side, you know what I mean, is open. I didn't think of Wideman. Wideman right now, a little review of all the players we got here. He signed a $762,000 deal for 2 years. Re-signed with Montreal. Last year, he had 27 points in Montreal, minus 25, 4 goals, 23 assists. He can quarterback the power play, really good with that. So he might even be on the first line for the power play. He really might. So we'll see what happens. And you have Jordan Harris. He only played a handful of games after being in Northeastern most of the year. He only played 10 games, had 1 goal and 3 assists. 1 goal plus 3, I meant. Just 1 point. So, but we'll see a lot more from him next year. Really happy to see what he can bring to the Montreal Canadiens. Really good skater, good defenseman, Kent Hughes knows him, and now Marty St. Louis is learning who he is. And you look at Dustin Barron, 2 points in 5 games, minus 2 for the Montreal Canadiens. With the Colorado Eagles, with the AHL for the Avalanche, there where he played most of his games. 43 games, he had 15 goals, 15 assists, 20 points, plus 10. We're going to see a lot more of Dustin Barron this year. 6'2", 195 pounds, a right shot guy. If he plays well, he can move up the lineup. He really can. So we'll see what happens there. What Barron, how he does. But this lineup right here really shows a lot of room for players, young players to move in and take a step. Matthias Norlinder playing the SHL last year. Played a couple games with Montreal actually. About 5 or something or 6, had 1 point and plus 2. In the SHL, he had 2 points actually in 21 games, but in the playoffs, he had 6 assists in 9 games in SHL. So with Norlinder there, so there you go. But Norlinder, I could see him play with the Canadiens some of it this year. I can also see him play also in Laval, either or. So we'll see where he goes. He's going to play next year. Caden Guhle definitely could make the lineup. I put Harris and Barron on that bottom pairing, but definitely Guhle can be on that bottom pairing for sure. Caden Guhle in the WHL, he played for 2 teams, the Raiders and the Oil Kings. He got traded there, but very good. With the Oil Kings there, Edmonton Oil Kings, 16 points in 19 games, a plus 17 in the playoffs. Outstanding. He was the best player in the playoffs for them. Really good. Hoping the best for him, for sure. And then Madison Bowney, Montreal signed this year. Played in Vancouver 2 games, minus 3, and then he played in Athens for the Canucks in the AHL, plus 18, 28 points in 53 games. So, some depth, playing in Laval most likely, and then if they need him, they'll bring him up. He's a good big defenseman, so there you go. Corey Schulman, he played really well for Montreal. Really surprisingly, he did a great job. 6 points in 24 games, minus 5, but Montreal liked him. They did, and they wanted to bring him back, so there you go. You gotta like Corey Schulman. He has a 1-year deal, one way this time, so good for him. And yeah. And you have also Jack Guy, which is a really interesting one. Montreal invited him even before Kent Hughes, Gordon came around. This is when Mark Bushman signed him. Played in the Kitchener Rangers in the OHL, 17 points in 18 games. Then got traded to the Hamilton Bulldogs, 17 points in 33 games, a plus 37. In the playoffs, 16 points in 18 games, plus 15. So, he's 21, undrafted. What a pickup here for Montreal. Oliver Jackeye would be a really interesting one. And also, I was listening to Ken Hughes' press conference. He also mentioned Leskinen, that they can add to the blue line. So we can also put in Leskinen. That's why we signed him. I was like, hey, I think he's going to get some time. He played in the KHL with the Jockeret. 15 points in 35 games, not bad. 20 plus 4. Not bad for him. KHL, best, you know, Russian league there, and there's a lot of former NHL players with upcoming ones there too. So, that's a good one too. We'll see if he, makes it. But if anyone really plays well in preseason, you gotta think they're gonna make the lineup. We'll see what happens for sure. But a lot of people say Norlinder trade him, but don't. I really think Norlinder can be that good puck moving guy from Montreal. Guhle, really good option. You have a lot of option here, a lot of young guys here too, and also talk about. I know this is gonna be another video. When I'm be talking about this. But I'll talk about just a little, bring up some names here of some NHL Canadiens prospects on defense. Defense for Montreal is a strong point for prospects. Not saying all of them become something, obviously, but it's really interesting. You have Logan Mailloux, who's right now 19. Logan Mailloux playing the London Knights in 12 games, 9 points plus 7. He probably play there again this coming year. Jaden Struble going to go into his senior year at Northeastern. Had 14 points in 34 games plus 15. He's a big, solid defenseman. He actually won the Combine a couple of years ago. You got Lane Hudson, who Montreal actually drafted this year, second round. People saying this could be actually the steal of the draft here. A great, fantastic puck-moving defenseman. Teams passed up on him because of his height. He's 5'3", 158 pounds, but they say he's going to still grow. They still said that height-wise, the doctors actually said that for him. So, hey, look at that. In the SHL, 32 points in 27 games, and he was lining it up in development camp against for the Montreal Canadiens a couple of days ago. So that could be really interesting. I also heard William Trudeau there with the QMJHL there, 44 points in 68 games, plus 30. I heard he was doing really well too, 19 years old. Drafted in 2021. So there are some guys here for sure that Montreal has that they can work with, which is really cool to see. So, yeah. So those are some defensemen Montreal has in the pipeline coming up. The ones I didn't put third pairing options because they didn't have their contracts yet. So, but you do have some guys coming up. And it's gonna be a exciting team. So we'll see who makes it. Some are gonna become bust. And some are gonna be really good defense. Obviously you have a good handful of good young prospects. Some are gonna turn out good. It's good to have a bigger prospect pool of it because a lot more can become NHL players for them. They're not. The odds are gonna be higher, obviously. So we'll see what happens. But thanks for watching the NHL News Sports, and I will see you next video. Bye.